Marcus Aurelius, what a guy. We're like best friends. I mean, just look how happy he is to be with me. Okay, on a serious note, if you don't know who Marcus Aurelius is, then you need to watch this video because he can really influence your life. And if you do know who he is, then still watch the video. Marcus Aurelius was born in Rome and lived from 121 AD to 180 AD. And from 161 AD onwards, he was the Roman emperor, making him the most important person in the world at that period of time. He was known as one of the 5 good Roman emperors and was emperor of Rome at its peak. As at this time, the Roman Empire had land in Europe, most of Western Asia, Northern Africa, and also most of the Middle East. It was absolutely huge. And as you can imagine, having all of this land, it can be very easy to be attacked, and that's exactly what happened in the reign of Marcus Aurelius. As for most of his time as emperor, he was involved in the Marcomannic Wars, which was against the Germans who were just trying to fight back against the Romans for their land. This made Marcus Aurelius' time as emperor very difficult. Despite it being successful, it made it very difficult. And he also struggled with other things throughout his whole life. Many of his children that make it to adulthood, he suffered from chronic pain. He even had one of his closest generals betray him in his time as emperor. It was a very difficult life that included much suffering and a lot of hardship. Despite him being the most powerful man in the world, it certainly wasn't easy. It was in this period of time that Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, an incredible piece of philosophy and one of the most influential pieces probably the most influential piece in Stoic philosophy. It was something he never planned to be published. He never planned for anybody else to see it. It's something he wrote to himself, his own meditations, his own journal diary as he went through this hardship. Of course, it's now available to read the writings of the most important man in the world from 2,000 years ago. And it's going to be the first piece of mandatory reading for this YouTube channel, so get your homework done. I read it a couple of years ago. I plan to read it and again many more times because it's just got so many pearls of wisdom inside of it. But before I go on to talk about the book, if you're new to this idea and philosophy of Stoicism, then I'm going to explain what that is right now. Stoic philosophy was founded by a man called Zeno. I've never known how to pronounce this. He was involved in a shipwreck, which meant he lost absolutely everything he had. He had to restart in a new place, a new life with absolutely nothing, and that's why he founded this philosophy. Stoicism. The word Stoicism comes from the Latin word stoa, that just means porch, and that is where the first teachings of Stoicism were made. There is so many different concepts and so many routes to go down with this whole philosophy, and I don't recommend. I think you should, and I think you need to get yourself involved and learn about this philosophy. Read from the multiple Stoic philosophers that there are. That includes Epictetus, that includes Seneca, and so many more. But the main idea behind it is realising what's in our control and what's out of our control, and then making decisions towards what is in our control with the 4 virtues. These 4 virtues are wisdom, which is education, constantly learning, knowing what's good and bad. Temperance, which is the idea of self-discipline, not falling for tempting behaviours. We've spoken about this before on the channel. Courage, facing up to adversity and unexpected events. And lastly, justice, doing what is right, especially in the most difficult of times. And it's putting these into practice when realising what's inside of our control, what's outside of our control, and reacting correctly with these 4 virtues to be the best you can be, to not be controlled by your emotions and feelings, and to always try to act in the most just way. And there's so many good quotes, passages from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, and there's even more great books on Stoicism, such as Letters from a Stoic by Seneca, Discourses of Epictetus, so many more. However, these quotes from Meditations by Marcus Aurelius really show the idea of Stoicism. The best revenge is to not be like your enemy. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you've been upset by someone, when you've been angered to a point where you just want to retaliate, you want to fight, you want whatever, the best revenge, remind yourself, the best revenge is to not be like your enemy. Being non-reactive is, in most cases, the best way to be, or being reactive but in the correct, just way. Usually if an enemy has done something to upset you, they've acted in an unjust way. So to retaliate in the exact same actions means you have done exactly the same thing. This second quote is an awareness of death. No, you do not have thousands of years to live. Urgency is on you. Whilst you live, while you can, become good. A big thing about Stoicism as well is being awareness of death. And I mean, that's a whole different video, and I think there'll be a video about that in the future. But if I had to say something on this right now, death shouldn't scare you. It should motivate you. In fact, death is the thing that gives us our purpose in life. And I think it's something that should be meditated upon. People should think about it. It's very easy to ignore it, completely take it out of your thought, the idea of death, because it's so scary. The fact that you and me will no longer be here in, not very long. And when you think about it the first few times, you think, wow, that's a terrible thing. And it is a terrible thing. It's a horrible thing. But where will we be without it? It creates urgency, it creates purpose. It creates for you to become the best you can be through self-discipline. There's 100% another video on that topic. It will happen. It's crazy to think that a man who lived and wrote these words 2,000 years ago are so impactful and so relevant to our world today, especially the life of comfort that we all live. I remember when I was in school, they made us all listen to a presentation on the idea of toxic masculinity. As you've probably worked out, Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, all these people argue the opposite. If everyone reacted aligned to their emotions, there would be no success and happiness in the world. It would all be short-term gratification. The pursuit of purpose is what will bring you long-term happiness. I don't think the schools quite understood what they were teaching when they were teaching this idea of, I was too cold to go to the gym this morning. I'm going to listen to my emotions, I'm going to listen to my feelings and not go sack it off and just play video games instead. I'm feeling sad because I miss my family or some at uni, so I'm not going to go to any of my lectures, I'm not going to study, I'm just going to stay in bed. That would be the outcome for every single person if they listen to their emotions. Now, the Stoics have been criticised for going too far on occasions. For example, after the death of one of their children or something and they're completely unreactive, then you can see how that's too far on the extreme. I'm not saying be completely emotionless throughout your whole life, that's stupid. But I mean on the small occasions when it's ideal to self-discipline. Those critiques of Stoicism are completely relevant, but it doesn't mean you should ignore the main idea of it and see how it can be implemented into your life and help yourself through understanding self-discipline, through going through those emotions when you don't want to do something. I guarantee you will find more success and happiness in your life with this new outlook. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.